Welcome, welcome, welcome to AI Powered Caregiving, a new weekly podcast sharing real stories and challenges from the front lines of age tech innovation. I'm Ishanya Antapur, your intrepid host from Zemplee, where we provide AI remote monitoring systems for senior care. We're looking to discuss some of the biggest challenges in the industry, and today we're talking about the crisis in home care. More than 90% of older adults in the US want to age in their own homes, but the systems designed to support that wish is under strain. Demand is rising, caregivers are stretched thin, burnout is real, and the budgets aren't keeping up. So the question isn't whether home care is changing, it's whether we can change without losing the humanity at the core of home care. And can technology actually help? My guest today is Kristin Krause. She's the Regional Director of Operations for Senior Helpers in Pennsylvania. If you're not familiar with Senior Helpers, it's a home care agency, and they offer services to older adults across the country and in Canada and Australia. So if you're in any of these countries, check them out. Kristin's here to share her insight about the home care landscape and the role technology can have in home care. Thank you for joining us today, Kristin.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So for this episode, we really want to dive into the state of home care today, and also thinking about things like how COVID has changed it over the last few years, and then what the future of home care is going to look like. We've got a bunch of interesting questions, and we're really excited to get your perspective as someone who's living this day to day and has been living the home care management experience for the last couple years. I'll start. I'll start with my first question. What are some of the most common barriers seniors face when staying safely at home?
I think there are two that I would like to highlight the most, and the first one being affordability. I think that as our economy continues to change and as we have different landscapes for everybody, that staying at home and aging in place is very hard when it comes to being able to afford it. A lot of people are outliving their money, so they are really mindful of trying to stretch it and make it last. The cost of living is going up, the mortgages, the rents, if they still have it, the bills that they're paying. So when they look at the home care costs and health care, affordability is one of the hardest things one of the battles, one of the things that we really struggle with. And then the second one would be resistance to care. Let's be honest, we are not a travel agency. Nobody is excited to need health care. So they are very resistant to care. Nobody wants a stranger in their home, and or do they want to admit that they need the help? So there's this huge resistance to care and letting us come in and help them, and or just saying like, yeah, I need some help.
I want to think that's a great response. I want to circle back to the first point you made, which was that a really common barrier people face to staying safely at home is affordability. In your experience and your opinion, is it more expensive to move into a facility and do that, or is it more expensive to stay safely at home?
In those situations, that's really hard to answer because no one situation is the same. So it really depends on the level of care that they need. There's some people who might need a 24/7 care completely around the clock. And in that situation, it is probably more expensive to have us in the home. Um, but also in a facility or a community, when you move into there are different levels of care. So really depending on what the person needs would depend on the cost. Senior helpers, we do a very good job about benchmarking the market. We look at our competitors and the cost, and our strategy is to stay competitive. Well, we are a leader in our area. An important initiative to us is that we are affordable because we want our care to last. So our goal is to have clients with us for a long time. We want to age with them. The more we can do that, The more we learn about them and the change, and we really grow with them as they age through their life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think we're all very aware in the industry that the rising costs of care, especially now that people are living longer, it's just stacking up so quickly.
And it's not just our care, like, the little things like healthcare. Medicare is going up every day. So I think it's coupled. It's not just us alone, it's the collaborative cost of healthcare.
Definitely, definitely. And the second barrier that you pointed out is really interesting and has been a very interesting challenge for us at Zemplee to also think about, which is the resistance to care and the desire for independence and the sort of psychological, philosophical coming to terms with, okay, I'm not as independent as I was when I was 40, 45, 50, and just sort of needing to admit to asking for help for some really intimate things sometimes. I think there's some things that's easy with the transition, like, okay, I need to go to the doctor and get meds, but then it becomes more and more intimate as you progress along the stages of aging. Are there any kind of qualities you've seen in your caregivers, as senior helpers, that really help address that sort of psychological grappling with needing more help and having less independence?
Absolutely. Let's be honest, vulnerability is probably the hardest skill set to learn as a human. And especially when you get to the intimate stuff that we do and opening up your home to somebody, being vulnerable in a setting that's not yours, especially your home, something you worked your whole life for, everything that you value, you keep in there. That's your place of safety. So I would say, the vulnerability makes a lot of sense. And because of that, we try to operate with a lot of empathy. We have to we try to hire our caregivers for their hearts, people that have compassion and empathy for the situation, that they realize that they're a guest in people's home and that really they're coming in there for companionship. So, while even if our purpose is to go in to help with personal care, or if it's as simple as to make a meal or clean their home, all of that is vulnerable. Of course, the personal care is a lot more significant, but our caregivers have to show up happy. They have to show up smiling. They have to show up with compassion. They have to show up with empathy. So we really do focus on hiring quality caregivers that have a skill set. But our first and foremost important skill set is compassion and empathy.
That's really beautiful. I think that's why I like this industry so much. It's one of the only ones, even within the healthcare spectrum, that is so compassion forward, empathy forward, and human forward. Like, it's person forward.
It's the hardest part about the industry too. People helping people. So it really it's the most critical part of our job, but it's the hardest one too.
Yeah. On that note, do you ever have situations where these empathetic caregivers do kind of overextend themselves or face what we're calling burnout, whether it's emotional or just from workload?
Absolutely. I mean, also when we're stepping into a client's home, we're stepping into a lot of variables within that home. So the dynamics of what's happening within the home environment have an impact to the caregivers. Caregivers are not just people like my industry and my company that we hire, but they're also the family members. So you have to remember that these family members are doing a lot of caring, and then they have another caregiver come in. The caregivers are trying to make not only the client happy, but the family members happy, and that's just a burden within itself, right? When your initiative is to make everybody happy, we all know that that can be really hard. Um, so we kind of ask these caregivers to do the impossible, right? And they do. They show up. Anybody that picks this as a job and is successful at it is an incredible person. And so we do see burnout. And when we do that, we just try to give the caregivers the opportunity to reboot. Caregivers also, again, I say that we do a lot of benchmarking within our industry to make sure that we're competitive, and a part of that is pay. But we can only bill so much, so we can only pay so much. So caregivers tend to work as much as they can to provide for their families. They're some of the hardest working people that I know, and I'm really proud to be a leader of them because of how hard they work. They show up every day to make everybody happy and put in all the hours so they can make their family happy. It's a lot.
Yes, they definitely wear a lot of hats. As you said, they are cross-functionally managing families, managing the clients and the patients themselves, and then managing like a whole suite of healthcare kind of checklists. And we at Zemplee really respect caregivers. A lot of us are caregivers ourselves, personally, and yeah, they definitely just wear a lot of hats. Are there any specific trainings that the caregivers have to go through um, as part of senior helpers?
So we try to hire caregivers that have at least 1 year of experience. And then once we hire them with that experience, we have something called a center of excellence. And that is a makeshift home within our office where it's a real life setting. So a bed, a chair, a kitchen, a bathroom where we can do hands-on transfer training or skills assessment. So it's a skills assessment lab. We also then have a training program because we have interviewed so many great people who have cared for their loved ones, which is caregiving. It really is, but it hasn't been in like the professional setting. So then we utilize our training program in our lab to put them through professional caregiver training because again, our our mission is really to hire the most loving humans and people that we can. So it's the Center of Excellence. And then we have a partnership with software called Care Academy, and they have a huge library of courses that caregivers can take classes ongoing. And that's, things that they know as refreshers and things that they don't know as training. So those are the two ways that we really do a lot of training. And then, of course, hands-on. So we have a lot of team members. We have over 300 employees. So we use our employees to help train our other employees when needed.
Yeah, it sounds really comprehensive. I'm just curious because we did just talk about sort of emotional bandwidth, but are there any of the courses, either online or in person, that kind of talk about how to regulate your own self? I've heard this expression a lot in compassionate settings, which is like put your own mask on. And on airplanes, of course, it's where you say put your own mask on before you reach out to put, your child's mask on or someone else's mask on. And I think that's actually something that in America in general we don't think about too much. We tend to overextend ourselves, especially if you're empathetic, into trying to solve someone else's problem before taking care of yourself. I used to be a teacher, and that was definitely something I ran into, right? Where you are taking on a lot of the emotional burden, because you care. But I wonder if there's any trainings that are kind of directed towards this, not really skill set building, maybe skill set in a different way of just sort of emotional and thought regulation.
Absolutely. Besides the stuff that I mentioned before, we also have a GEMS program, and that was created by Teepa Snow, and that really is a very solid approach to dealing with people with dementia, and it does a lot of that, the role reversal, like helps you see things through their eyes. So we use our GEMS program to help with self regulation and so that the caregivers respond to the client appropriately. Like, did you handle that situation the way that you should. Coupled with that, I have used an application that I love called Udemy. And if we really have like a caregiver or an internal employee that's maybe suffering with customer service or has a hard time processing just how to process their emotions, Udemy has a lot of courses that we can pay for and put them through. And it's nice because they're offered on your phone. They can watch them at their cadence, and it's just something that gives them a lot of input. In addition to that, this is a humble boast, I guess, but I have a 10-year team. And so myself, I've been in the industry with senior helpers for 12 years. And then a lot of my management team has been here for 5 years up to the amount of time that I've been. So we do take a lot of time with our caregivers when they're going through hardships or stressful times, burnout. When we lose clients that we've been with for a long time and we love, we really give a lot of ourselves to the employees just to share what we've gained and learned along the way. One other thing that we offer is we have partnerships with hospice companies, and hospice companies have great programs for how to help with like the mourning of a loved one. And when you're a caregiver, you grow to love your clients. So it's not
Mm.
just like a loved one as a family member, but somebody that you really grown to respect and admire. So we work with the hospice companies on how to help with that too.
That's amazing. And you said humble boast. Feel free to humble boast. It sounds like you and senior helpers are doing, and your team are doing amazing work, really covering all the boundaries there.
Thank you. We try.
Yes. You mentioned that you've been in the home care industry for 10 plus years now. What industry were you in before?
So I actually started out in the staffing world. I staffed administrative and accounting professionals, and that's really where I learned a lot of operations. So I was able to understand the infrastructures of business when it came to the administrative or the accounting side from receptionists to CFOs. And then after I was there for a little bit, I went to another home care agency, Bayada Nurses, where I worked for 5 years and was able to open up a skilled office. So I saw the regulated side of home care, and then that's when I came to senior helpers. So I've been in the healthcare field for almost 18 years.
Wow. What's something for someone who's wants to get into the home care industry? What's something you would, looking back, maybe advise yourself or advise them, or something you didn't fully understand until you were in this role and in the industry at large?
Mm. Uh, Patience. And maybe that's just my life lesson too, because I'm a mom of two. So I feel like I'm like that might honestly be my life lesson. But healthcare, especially because as much as I try to think of all the things and put all the infrastructure in place and get the right software systems, and treat it as a business, it is still a business that is caring for people, right? So there's a lot of dynamics that go into that. And I could master every skill set, I could create every infrastructure. But if I'm not patient with the situations that are happening, you mentioned COVID and the pandemic, that itself was a life lesson. Like anytime that I'm like, oh, you got this figured out, Kristen, it's like, just kidding. No, you do not. And so, you know, it was patience with understanding that everybody was going through their own thing. If it was something as sad as families experiencing being detached from their loved ones, to me trying to figure out how to get, mass across a border. The patience that I just had to have every day as a leader of my company to make sure that it all ran smoothly was probably something that I prayed for the most.
Yeah, I like how you say it's both a lesson for the industry and also just a life lesson.
Right.
Patience.
I'm locked into
It is.
patience forever.
Okay, let's transition a little bit into the real, some of the real meat of the topics today, which is, in this post-pandemic climate, like we're talking about, with the problem of more people wanting to age in place, to age at home, and less and less, well, just more people aging, and then a staffing shortage that we're all aware of the crisis in this industry. Do you see technology playing a role, stepping up in any way in supplementing human care? And I love that you already mentioned some things like online courses, online trainings. I think that's a really good start, and technology is a great resource. And do you see it playing any other roles in supplementing human-centric care?
Absolutely. I love the word supplementing. I think that's so critical and not replacing, because care is all about, TLC, tender loving care. And I don't think that's ever going to change because that's what makes humans so great, in my opinion, anyway. But I think that as the demand grows, as the shortages happen, and just as we start to get more savvy, technology today is trending, and as all of that happens, I do see a huge, exciting opportunity for us to really grab a hold of some technology to help provide care. With affordability being a major focus of senior helpers, we have to stay relevant. And so leaning into technology to help our operations streamline things and also to give insight to families makes a lot of sense.
I completely agree, and I like what you said that there's some things that technology may not be able to replace in home care. Could you just repeat that? What you think technology won't be able to replace?
Right. I think that, there are a lot of situations where a human presence and a caregiver is needed. If that's like helping with a shower, or executing an errand, um, traveling somewhere with somebody to make sure that they get there safe, driving them there. I mean, I guess that's not even true. In San Diego, they have those cars. I forget the name that drive themselves. But right now, let's just act like cars don't drive themselves. That's where I think we're needed the most in those situations. So personal care, where we're really helping somebody with bathing, or chores around the house. We're cleaning the house, we are helping make meals, and then taking to doctor's appointments. I believe that, that is where caregivers are needed and will never be replaced.
That makes a lot of sense. And then you said technology can really help either with helping your business stay relevant, but also helping cut down on some costs and streamlining operations and increasing efficiencies. Do you think that technology, maybe something like Zemplee or other products, will help kind of create a more connected care ecosystem between like the providers, the care providers, the patients themselves, and then their families? Because that is, we previously talked about that being a challenge for caregivers, right? Having to wear a lot of hats, cater to multiple groups here. And I'm wondering if you see technology can play a role in helping them with that process.
Absolutely. I love how you said ecosystem because that's really what it is. And there's levels within that. And I think that there's a big level that's missing right now, and why I'm so excited to launch our partnership with Zemplee, because you are going to help us target an audience that doesn't need the intense human care yet. They don't need the stranger in their home, but they just need little reminders or way to stay safe, and to get benchmarks of data. So data is extremely helpful when we're having hard conversations with people resisting care. In my position, I am constantly trying to figure out what's emotional and what is factual. And factual data leads us to have better conversations because it is not us trying to take control away from any person. It's us actually having the ability to demonstrate that we love you so much or we care about you so much that, that we need this to happen for you. So I think that technology and the partnership that we have with Zemplee is huge because it targets an audience right now that is just going without any care. And that is, I think, the drastic swing for the clients too, from nothing to all care right away. That's really hard also. So this is like a comfortable bridge, that allows us to grab factual information and make logical decisions.
I hadn't thought about that so much, but that's a wonderful point that having more data collected, health data, behavior data, um, can help you and your team of caregivers make decisions about your life and your care. And I think, before a lot of modern technology, you would get a few readings a year and you'd have to make your everyday decisions based on some few readings a year at the doctor's office. And then you talk about sort of the white coat syndrome, which is people being, they might have elevated blood pressure when they go to the doctor just because they got that fear of doctors or they're in a new environment or something like that. So the readings may not even be that accurate, and there's only one or two of them. How can you make really good judgment calls based on that? And so, yeah, I love the idea that more data can help you make a better, more informed decision. Um,
Especially speaking for um, the caregivers who are, you know, like myself, maybe caring for children and in the thick of it of going through teenage years and all that good stuff. And then you're trying
oh, good
to,
stuff.
yeah, be a caregiver for your parent at the same time. And you feel bad because you love and respect, your mother or father so much. The last thing you want to do is sit there and look at them and fight with them. Like, you've given all your fight to everything else. You showed up to work that day. You got your kids to school that day. You did all the things. And like, Mom, I don't want to fight with you. I love you. Like, I just want you to be happy. But there comes a time where you're like, okay, it's not about happiness anymore. It's about safety. And that still could be like a heck of a tug of war. So by having Zemplee and creating the program that we have, Insight Care, like, we are able to give family members data, that they can, again, they don't have to, always going to feel bad when they're telling their parents, like, you need care. Like, that's never a fun conversation. It's always a hard one. It's always emotional. But at least it takes it more out of that zone and makes it logical. And that, like, I know that this is kind of my due diligence. I'm giving this to you because I know you need it. Like, and that's actually me doing a good job. It's harder to have hard conversations. That's another thing I'm learning at this point in life. Like, have the hard conversation because it's actually easier.
Than just letting it sit
Yeah,
and
it's
build
only
up.
going to get worse and worse. It only gets harder.
That's valid. Okay, my final deep question here is if you could wave a magic wand, create a policy or a tool that would improve home care delivery, what would it be?
So I think it's exactly what we did with Simply. I was very excited for the opportunity to partner with a company that can provide our clients a resource that was affordable and non-invasive. Because it was a gap that I could see in our ecosystem. I love that word. I'm going to use it all the time now. That that I really felt was needed. And I want to be able to offer affordable solutions. And let's be honest, at the end of everybody's life, their healthcare expenses will be their largest. Like, when you start off, it's probably your mortgage. And then when you end, it's healthcare. But I wanted to focus on something that people work their whole life to get to the point of retirement. And then when they are retired, that we can make sure that they're safe and that they can live the best life possible. So, my magic wand would be the direction that we're going in right now. So I'm really excited to see
That's
if it's
great.
the right wish, the right magic. It's like,
Yeah.
what would your magic superpower be? Like, I don't know.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, we're basically making magic is what you're saying. And
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, that's so much fun too, and offering it up to the audience. We're gonna get to touch an audience that doesn't have it. So for me, home care being accessible and affordable to everybody is something very important to me in working in the field and seeing the people that go without. And we live in America, the greatest country ever, right? Like, we should be able to give this to people. So the more that we can do that, I think the closer that we're getting to taking care of our people.
I agree. I feel like we're really out of flux in terms of understanding care um, in this country, just with the way that we're going to have so many more people 60 plus than younger than 60. I think our attitudes, our perspectives, the approaches are really about, there's going to be a massive shift in the next few years. And we're all just really excited to be a part of that and being part to contributing to the good in that, like you said, accessible, affordable, helping people thrive, not just drag on and live at the end of life. Yeah. I think we're really aligned and we're really excited. I have just a few more rapid fire kind of fun questions for you,
Okay.
and we'll wrap up. Okay, so what are two or three or one book that you find recommending to other people?
Oh, I really like The Woman. That's a healthcare book.
Oh,
Um,
okay, interesting. I haven't heard of it.
by
Say more.
Kristin Hanna. So that it's one where get your tissues with you. Get your tissues. But it's great. It's about war. It's just great. I won't give any spoilers, but that I recommend The Woman. You'll love it. I can mail it to you. I actually bought it for my staff. So that was an initiative I had, and that I need to continue forward. But I bought a couple books to distribute so they could pass it around, and they picked The Woman. So it was a great one.
The Women. Okay, okay. Ooh, I'm excited.
I like a
I
lot
love
of
a book.
self-help books, so a lot of my other books are like Leaders Eat Last, just stuff like that. Um, and then there was one that I just read, um, Mad Honey. That was another really good one that I read
Oh,
recently.
yes, I've heard of that one too.
Oh, I
Someone in
couldn't
my
even put
apartment.
it down. Who's the author? It was one of those ones where I was like, oh, I got to go to sleep.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I love a book that can send me to tears,
Yeah,
That's
the
fun.
women, that's it. And it will really give you, I think it helps a lot with the empathy. I love books about anything like that.
And what's a favorite recent movie or TV show that you would recommend?
Virgin River. I'm a sappy one. I work for anything. I don't know why I work in healthcare. I should be
You're
leaning into
empathetic.
like comedy, but no, I'm a good chick flick, like love story type of girl.
You're empathetic. You're romantic. It's in there.
It's a good one.
Okay, and final question, where can folks find you or find more info on senior helpers and your initiatives with technology?
Sure. So all social media, We have a Facebook page, so Senior Helpers of Havertown, Phoenixville, or Exton are our pages. You can go to our landing page, that's just www.seniorhelpers.com. And then we are a franchise company, so you will see lots of different senior helpers. But if you use the location page, you could come exactly, put in your zip code, it will take you exactly to the senior helpers around you. And then if you're a client in the Montgomery, Delaware, or Chester County area, you could reach us via email at newclient@seniorhelpers.com. And we can help. We have a team that gets that email 24/7. So we'll respond to you immediately.
That's amazing. And you are based out of Pennsylvania, right?
Correct. So the Great Northeast is what I would say people can identify us with. But we do all of Delaware County, Montgomery County, and Chester County. So um, the people that are from Pennsylvania will know where that's at.
Yeah. Awesome. And all those resources, we're going to have all those resources linked in the show notes in case you didn't catch it spoken out loud. We'll also have a bunch of other resources like practical things you can do and families can do to protect dignity and privacy for older adults, help with aging in place, and home care tips and tricks in general. You can find it all at zemplee.com/podcast, and they'll be in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Kristin, one more time for coming and sharing your perspective. We had a lovely conversation. I think you're an amazing actor in this industry and in this environment, and I'm really, really, really just so honored to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. I'm blessed to be here. So I appreciate your time.
You as well. That's all. Signing off from Zemplee.
Bye.